London is a bustling city located in England. It's the capital of the United Kingdom. Known for its rich history, vibrant cultures, and world-class attractions, many tourists flock to London each year to visit the city. Today, I'm sharing with you my top recommendations of things to do in London. My first recommendation is to visit Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is the royal residence of the monarch, located in Westminster. This palace opened in 1705 and has 775 rooms inside. If you would like to visit Buckingham Palace, make sure to get there as early in the morning as possible so there are less people during your visit. My next recommendation is the changing of the guard ceremony. The changing of the guard ceremony occurs at Buckingham Palace every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. This is where the old guards who are currently on patrol are replaced by the new guards who are beginning their patrol. The ceremony begins at 10:45 a.m. and lasts around 45 minutes. I'll leave a link to a website in the description that gives you all the times and dates for the ceremony for the next upcoming month. But make sure to arrive as early as possible as there are thousands of people here and you want to get a good place to stand for the best view. Also, don't bring anything of high value, as this is a notorious place for pickpocketers trying to steal from tourists. And keep track of all of your belongings and enjoy the ceremony. My third recommendation is Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is one of the most famous icons in London and a great place for you to check out. Tower Bridge opened in 1894 and it's famous for its Victorian architecture. It's also famous for being a drawbridge that opens up to allow bigger boats to pass underneath. On their website, they actually have the schedule for when the bridge is supposed to open, so I'll also leave a link to that in the description so you can find out when it's gonna open. You can also go up the towers to the walkways at the top. There are stairs and an elevator. I took the stairs as they allow you to learn more about the bridge as you make your way up. The walkways have glass bottoms which will allow you to see the pedestrians, traffic, and Thames River below. There are also good views out of the windows. A general admission ticket for an adult costs £13.40 or $17 and for a kid it's £6.70 or $8.50. Children under 5 are free, and they also have special tickets for families traveling in bigger groups. They grant you access to the glass walkways and the engine rooms, so a visit to Tower Bridge is worth it. My fourth recommendation is a visit to Tower of London. Tower of London is a historic castle located right next to Tower Bridge. Tower of London was built almost 1,000 years ago back in 1078. It was used as a prison from 1100 until 1952, and the moat you see was used to keep people inside. The moat was dug out in the 1270s, and it was used all the way until the 1840s, but by then it smelled so bad and was so filthy the Duke of Wellington was forced to drain it. Back in 2022, 20 million seeds were planted for the Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty the Queen, giving the Tower of London's moat a completely new look. Now, let's head inside of the Tower of London, and let's start at the White Tower. It's the most famous keep in the entire world. Here, it contains the Line of Kings, which is a 350-year exhibit for past kings' armor. It also contains the St. John's Chapel, which is the most complete surviving example of Anglo-Norman ecclesiastical architecture. The Tower of London is also home to the Crown Jewels, which are the most prized possessions in the UK, and they are protected by these guards. Unfortunately, there's no filming allowed inside the Crown Jewels. In terms of ticket prices, they are quite expensive. For an adult, it starts at £34.80 or around $44 and for a child ages 5 to 15, it's £17.40 or around $22. So it is quite pricey to visit the Tower of London, but a visit is absolutely worth it. My fifth recommendation is Westminster. Not only is Westminster home to Buckingham Palace, it's also home to the world-famous Big Ben Clock Tower. Westminster is additionally home to the UK Prime Minister's house, located on 10 Downing Street. It's also home to the Horse Guards Palace, which remains the official entrance to St. James's and Buckingham Palaces, and it's ceremonially guarded by the King's Guards. Westminster is a must-see in London. It has to be the most popular and most visited borough in the city. Make sure to explore it. My sixth recommendation is a ride on one of the red double-decker buses. The red double-decker buses are one of the most famous things in London. Not only are they famous, they're also a very cheap and inexpensive way to travel. I took a ride on one in Westminster and it was a great way to see the popular attractions. The red double-decker buses are such a cool experience to do if you're in London. It's so cool sitting on the top deck and looking out a window as you ride along. So if you're in London, make sure to ride on one of the buses at least once. My 7th recommendation is a ride on the London Eye. The London Eye is another big icon in London, and if you're a first-time visitor, you should check it out. It's the world's largest cantilevered Ferris wheel, and it's also located right across the Thames River from Westminster, so it's really easy to get to. It has 32 cars, like this one, which represent the 32 boroughs of London. The ride takes around 30 minutes to do the full circle, but it's really worth it to try as it gives you great views. In terms of prices, it is also quite expensive. For an adult, it's £30 or around $38 to enter. For a child, ages 2 to 15, it's £27 or around $34 to enter. Please keep in mind, these prices are if you order online. If you show up there the day of and try to buy a ticket in person, it's going to cost more than if you order online. So make sure to plan in advance and get your tickets beforehand. But again, if you are a first-time visitor to London and you really want to do the London Eye, then go ahead and check it out. My 8th recommendation is to go up the Shard. The Shard is the tallest building in the United Kingdom, standing at 1,016 feet tall, and it's a great alternative to the London Eye. The Shard sits on the south bank of the River Thames, right next to London Bridge Station. You enter the building on London Bridge Street, where you enter into a small lobby where you can buy your ticket in person, but I'd recommend buying it in advance for a better experience. After a small security check, you make your way towards the first set of elevators, which take you halfway up the building to floor 33. Once you're on floor 33, you'll change to a second set of elevators, which will take you the rest of the way up, all the way to floor 68. Once you exit the elevator on floor 68, you start getting these amazing views over the city. It's so awesome to look down on London from 1,000 feet in the air. One of the coolest features of the observation deck is on floor 72. There, they have their outdoor observation deck, which they call the Sky Deck, and it's wheelchair accessible by a smaller elevator. In terms of prices, it starts at £28.50 to get up the Shard, or around $36. So not only is it cheaper than the London Eye, it's a lot higher than the London Eye, so you get better views. So if you don't want to go up the London Eye, then definitely consider going up the Shard. My 9th recommendation is to take a ride on one of the Uber boats along the River Thames. The Uber boats, also known as the river buses, are the ferries that run along the river. They're a great way to see some of the popular attractions. I rode on one from Westminster out to Greenwich, and it was a really cool experience. Another great part of them is that they're part of the Transport for London system, meaning you can use your Oyster transit card to pay for your ride. The ride from Westminster to Greenwich took around 50 minutes, so while it's not as fast as taking the tube, it's a great alternative because you get to sightsee. And it's a lot less painless because you don't have to make any train connections, you just stay on the boat until you arrive at your intended pier. And I got to see really cool attractions such as Tower of London, Tower Bridge, the Shard, the London Eye, and more. So it was a really fun experience, and I'd recommend riding on board the boats at least one time during your time in London. You will not regret doing it at all. My 10th recommendation is to go to Greenwich and the Royal Observatory. Greenwich is a borough of London located on the eastern part of the city along the banks of the River Thames. It's best known for its rich maritime history, but it's also known for being the site of the Royal Observatory. The Royal Observatory is an observatory placed right along the Prime Meridian line. Here, you're able to stand on both sides of the world on the western and eastern hemispheres of the planet. They also have a small little museum here, so if you're into astronomy, it's a really cool place to check it out. In terms of prices, for an adult, it's £20 or around $25 to enter, and for a child ages 4 to 15, it's £10 or around $12 to enter. So if you're really into astronomy and you want to stand on both sides of the world, check it out. My 11th recommendation is to go to Piccadilly Circus and Chinatown. Piccadilly Circus is London's equivalent to New York's Times Square. It's full of neon lights, shopping, and electric billboards. It's a part of the city that's always bustling with action. I like to think of it as the part of the city that never sleeps. Also, when you're in Piccadilly Circus, make sure to make the quick walk over to Chinatown. It's famous for this arch at the entrance to the district, and it's really well decorated with lots of little shops around. It's definitely a part worth checking out too. My final recommendation is Trafalgar Square. Trafalgar Square is a square that commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 when the British won against the French and Spanish. It's also the site of Nelson's Column. There's some fountains and some historic buildings. It's also bustling with action, so make sure to check it out when you're in London. All in all, those are 12 things to do on your next visit to London, United Kingdom. I hope this video was helpful to you in planning your next trip, and if it was, make sure to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button to stay tuned for other videos from other great cities. I spent 1 week exploring this awesome city, and I made vlogs about that. I'll leave them linked to the right of the screen if you want to check them out, and as always, safe travels.